Whew. Hey guys, Ryan here, and I'm inside the friendly confines of SP's gym. And the show you're about to see is Mr. Todd Hutchings. He is one of the top guys in multiple weight classes and a true expert on certain styles of training. We have an interesting discussion where we cover everything from his match at TAL, which is tomorrow, his back and forth with the Australians, and all things in between, including training, which I think you guys will find fun. First though, and I'm reading my list, I'm guilty, I'm hiding it over here, but we have a shout out to our Patreon members as usual: Jeff Frank, Bruce Williz, Barbarian Armwrestling, Bryan Koerner, Go Garb, and Go Solutions. And announcing our newest member, just signed up, Jon Umpherville, to the Alpha tier. Thank you guys so much for the support. Whew, that was loud. I appreciate you. And just a reminder, if you haven't hit subscribe, make sure you do that. We appreciate all likes and shares. And we have memberships on the YouTube channel now. So we love the ability to post things directly to the membership. So it's similar to Patreon, where you're gonna have exclusive access. The tier levels are very similar. There's a couple extras, but I invite everyone to check those out. There's a video explaining them, but you can also see them by clicking on the community tab or join now. So look forward to hearing from you guys. Enjoy the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with my guest, Mr. Todd Hutchings, and let's talk about this as if it was the night before the event, because that's the day it's going to add. That's the time it's going to go live on the channel, is the day before you are actually arm wrestling in the TAL2 event in Boise, Idaho. So anyway,
say a lot of tomorrows and stuff.
Yeah, let's do that. Even though this is all on the show, so we're gonna, whatever. It's actually it's actually Wednesday. So I mean, we're only a couple of days before that anyway. But because you guys will be traveling and getting ready and stuff, let's do it now. So welcome to the show, Toddzilla.
Thank you very much.
Do you realize that it's been 1 year since we have talked like this? I looked back through the messages, and I think you were on Crossfire in December of 2019.
Yeah, we were setting the groundwork, because you and I were supposed to pull in like one of the first WALs of last year.
That's right. Yeah. It was something.
Not the one in California, but the one after. I can't remember what number it was supposed to be.
No, I don't even remember what series we're in. What the hell's going on? Is it 700 or was it 600? I don't.
Oh, I was thinking 5, but I don't know.
Well, that never happened. It still might happen, but I mean, I think we're a ways away from anything like that going on. How's things going with you? How are things where you are?
I'll tell you what, if you didn't go into Walmart, you wouldn't know there was a pandemic around here. I never missed a day work. We had some folks work from home once in a while, but no masks, no curfews, no shutdowns. I mean, it was, for a while there, it's odd to see McDonald's and Wendy's. They didn't have anybody sitting inside, but I never went inside them anyway. So I really didn't notice that there was a shutdown at all where I'm at. We're in Southern Ohio. It's pretty rural down here. So it really wasn't anything like it was in England, where you'd get a ticket if you left your neighborhood, or even in Columbus, where there's, the shutdowns are more severe.
Well, Manitoba is like, we have numbers that are like almost like North and South Dakota. So it's going crazy here. Oh. And we aren't even allowed to have people in our homes.
Yeah, we don't have any. I really didn't see any. Of course, I train at home anyways. I really didn't see any effect at all, other than, like I said, if you go into Walmart, they ask you to put on a mask. Oh, and they put the stickers on the floor, so that I could measure my paces. I go, oh, look at that! Like 2 steps is 6 feet. This is pretty consistent. But other than that, nothing really happens.
Very similar here. Very similar here. Like for most people, you wouldn't even know it. You still see high school kids gathered in groups sharing their vape, and
yeah,
it's yeah. And a year ago, we weren't even talking about this, were we?
No, because it hadn't started. It was funny that pandemic just started heating up on the news and stuff in February in California. And I was in San Diego at a great big huge practice. Then I went to the Arnold's after pulling with Devin. Then I also had a big practice at Indianapolis and Chicago. So I did everything I could to expose myself to that disease.
Yeah, maybe you had it.
I'm thinking me and my kid might have had it like early, because I was traveling all over the place, and we were both really, really sick at the end of February, early March.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, other than that, it really wasn't a change here.
So you were training, you were getting ready for me. I was getting ready for you. I mean, there has to have been a point where we kind of each thought, let's just train normally, because this match may never happen, or it's going to be a ways.
I cut my training down in half, because it was not too long after that, WL called and said they couldn't get anybody outside the country in, so they're going to try to do an all-American event. And they set up a match, then that backed out, and then they said, well, we might take everybody to, like, I forgot what they said, Montana or Idaho or someplace that had 0 shutdowns, and they were going to bring like 16 people out, and in 2 weeks film film 601, 602, 603, 604, and 605 all within a 2-week span, and then just feed it. They thought college football and pro football would all be closed, and then that didn't happen.
I remember having that conversation as well, where they were going to have the bubble, kind of like we're all going to go to one hotel and film a whole season worth of shows, which would have been fun.
Yeah.
Would have been exhausting.
Would have been like Arm Wars then, right?
That's right. Yeah. You show up and you don't know if you're having another match, and it's nuts.
Neil Pickup was way ahead of his time. Neil Pickup should have had the pandemic Arm Wars.
He could have. He could have still had it on the terrace suite of the MGM Grand.
Yeah.
So, can you share who you were supposed to pull in the All-American event?
RVJ.
Really?
Yeah. But it wasn't. It was, and I was kind of a baby about it. It wasn't for the hammer.
It was at heavyweight?
No, it would have been in the 200-pound range. But it wasn't for the hammer. It wasn't for hammer money. And so the money was less. It didn't count as the hammer. And I go, well, man, so I thought about it for a week or so. And like I said, I go, this is just so unfair, because you guys moved me up. I'm trying to gain weight. Now I got to go cut weight again. And then they said, well, look, man, there's just no season. So I agreed to it. And then something came up at his end and he backed out. It was funny. I was on the phone with Jamie telling him I would do it. And RVJ was texting me at the same time saying he had something come up and he couldn't do it. And I'm going, what the hell?
Yeah,
that was when I went from training. I was training about 10 to 12 times a week. I went to 4 times a week and started building a deck in the evenings. I'd use my free time. So during the COVID, I'm building a deck at my house because I had all this free time.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy how things work out. RVJ is one guy that I have not seen much from in the last 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't seem to be doing much.
He kind of went into seclusion, but I did hear he went to a big practice on the East Coast not too long ago. A friend of mine holds a big practice out there. He said he's still strong. Said he's still RVJ, taking, I don't know if he had been in seclusion for a month or so, or a couple. I don't know how long it was, but he said he hadn't lost much. He's still the same old RVJ. He's still strong.
Yeah. So we all shut down, and then what the hell happens? Jeff starts putting on events.
Yeah, it's like Jeff turns into Don King and says, check it out, man. Everybody's available.
Yeah, and putting on some awesome events. TAL1 was pretty good. TAL2 looks like it's wild. Like Devin said it. He said it's almost a WAL level card, and I
Right.
agree with him. So how did it come to be that you ended up on the card? And this was not very long ago.
No, it was posted, and I mean it was presented. I knew they were happy. He invited me out once, and I said I was doing something else, and then he said he made arrangements just for me to come and pull the tournament. I go, well, sure, I guess I'm wide open now. And so I was just going to just be in the tournament. I was going to pull super heavyweight right and 220s left. And then Don Underwood, from what I understand, Don Underwood contacted Jeff and proposed the match between me and Don. So then Jeff contacted me with that offer. And I go, well, sure, I'm out there anyway, so let's do that.
That kind of, I think that's the story I got too, as Don sort of was looking for a match, knew that you were going to be there and were available, and called you out. Now, how are you feeling about a match with Don Underwood?
It was interesting. He's another guy who had kind of been, underground for a while. I saw he came up. I was watching video of Corey West, and I saw Don pulling him. So I go, oh, Don's back. So I'm looking forward to. I'm glad I'm not pulling him 10 years ago when he was kicking everybody's ass. But
wow.
This kindler, gentler grandfather version of him seems a lot friendlier than the one I knew.
Friendlier for sure, but I think that Don might be the guy that he's starting to get back to where he was.
Yeah.
However, if I were to pick an arm wrestler that might be tailor-made style-wise to get you a win, he might be the guy.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, I mean, the style, the way the styles line up. I mean, the first thing to fade in a super match is explosiveness, right?
Yeah.
And well, would you agree with that? First of all,
I think so. I mean, I know it does with me. I mean, it does with me just in a tournament. Towards the end of the tournament, I'm noticeably slower off the go than I am at the front end.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be a fun match. Don seems pretty confident in coming in there. So, I mean, did you adjust training at all in the last 2 weeks? How long has it been since you know about the match?
No, the holes in my game are well known in public. So everybody can pretty much guess what I'm working on most of the time.
So you're not going to bust out a top roll on him or anything like that?
No, but my top roll's coming along. I go out to Dave Morocco's house about every 4 to 6 months just to arm wrestle him, because he's got a very open, high moving top roll, and that's what I gauge my progress on. So I go out to his house, we get warmed up, and then I pull him straight up 3 or 4 times, and then I sit there like a dog. So am I getting better? Am I getting better? And, he says, well, I'll give you a B for the last 6 months work, but this is what you got to do.
Wow. Okay. So that's the gauge, is Dave Morocco's top roll.
Dave Morocco is my gauge on my progress, because it was a year ago I couldn't do anything with him. And now, I don't want to put words into, but I bet you now Dave goes, you know what? That Todd's hand's coming along. It's definitely better than it was a year ago.
I want to talk to you about Morocco's practices, because they look like they're so massive and so intense, and the duration is so long that it would take most guys a month to recover from them.
Yeah, you got to pace yourself at them, man. It's like a Greek wedding with an open bar, man. You just can't do everybody there, And I like to pull a lot of beginners, because they all, like, when I show up to a practice, people are all so nice and they want to gauge them. But at Morocco's practice, man, I got to meter that stuff at the front end, because there's so many top name people there that you want to pull. You can't pull 30 or 40 people. There was easily, the last practice I've been to at his house was the biggest one. Before that, he had 4 tables set up in his basement. I'll bet you there was easy 40 or 50 people in his basement arm wrestling. And this last practice, there was probably 20 or 30 outside and another 40 or 50 inside.
That's insane.
and Travis is there. Ron Bath was there. Paul Lynn's there. Ayala was there. Marcio Barbosa separated my bicep at one of those. Craig Toulier was there one time I showed up, and Craig Toulier was up from Louisiana at that practice. I mean, when Morocco pulls them early enough, it's a high level. I mean, it's deep. There's good people and that Maryland crew, they're good anyways. They got a lot of really big guys that are probably, WAL level in the super heavyweight and the upper 240s anyways. He's got a lot of big folks that just show up. But no, those practices are something to see, but it's hard not to get completely wore out in the first 40 or 50 minutes just because there's so many people there.
Yeah. And I know you follow a different kind of training program, but how does a practice fit into that? Like, how often would you get table time?
I'm currently on the table every 2 or 3 months. It's
really?
Well, I used to train on the table 1 to 2 times a week when we were pulling tournaments all the time.
Yeah.
But when we switched to super matches, I usually only wanted to, because I know who I'm going to pull. And unless you're pulling somebody like Brezink or Lorette, most people are fairly one-dimensional. Maybe they got 2 moves. So I don't need a lot of table time to practice, an attack and a defense against somebody who's only going to pull 2 rabbits out of his hat.
Yeah, that's I would agree with that.
Yeah,
especially in the super heavyweight division.
Win, and I practice how I'm not going to lose, and I just need to fine tune that at a practice, and then just go get stronger.
Do you feel like connective tissues and stuff like that would be compromised with the lack of table time?
I train. I do a lot of plyometrics and these new JM presses. So, I mean, I bang up my elbows pretty hard in the gym anyways. I'm not too worried about that. But
thank you for that, by the way. I've been starting to do the JM presses on a regular basis.
It after a month or so, man, I mean, you'll notice, you'll say, holy shit, man, I can really push some weight up now.
Yeah.
But no, those practices probably knocked me down a notch in training for about a week or so.
Oh, yeah.
Things are sore and beat up, but these aren't normal. These aren't your normal practice with your same 6 or 7 guys. I mean, like I said, if there's 80 guys at a practice, you're pulling a lot of fresh people all day long.
Yeah, it sure seems that way. It seems like you guys could, like, what I notice about Morocco's practice is I watch some of the footage from it. And there's guys, you see a room full of guys, and there's 15 other guys there, but you never see them in that shot.
Yeah.
Because there's
it's deep, man. One time it was in his basement. His air conditioner could not keep up with all the people in that basement. My blue jeans were soaked almost to my knees just with sweat. You could not get away from the heat in that, because you have, like I said, 40 some guys working hard in that basement. He's having another one next year. Watch his Facebook page. I think he'll post it. You should come out. I mean, it's like going to a championship tournament or something. I mean, most of North America's best arm wrestlers are there.
You know what? I would be interested in that, even though he's in Baltimore, correct?
He's just outside Baltimore. Get some good crab cakes.
Yeah, I love the crab cakes. I wasn't a big fan of Baltimore, if I'm being honest, but it's just as a city. But anyway, he must live in a massive house, like the guys you're talking about being in there.
His basement's got more square footage than my house does. He's got a full weightlifting gym with a couple of pieces of cardio equipment, that big, I don't know what it's called, but that big machine with the pin stacks where you can do like cable crossovers on.
Yeah.
It's got a couple other pulley machines. I think it's a hammer strength, hammer curl machine with the big eccentric weights on it.
Yeah.
My first visit to Morocco's house, he had that he's got a full set of like polished dumbbells with his name carved in them. So he's got a full weight set. And when I was there, Kenny Smith's wife was in the garage doing some Olympic lifts. There was a whole nother gym set up in the garage, separate from the one we arm wrestle in. And then my third trip to Morocco's house, he held a tournament at his son's CrossFit gym. So there is not a piece of exercise equipment that Morocco does not have a receipt for. He's got every arm wrestling specific handle, oblong thing as well. It's pretty impressive. It's what I think Igor's house looks like, to be honest.
Yeah. And guys like Engen have access to those kind of gyms where they're subsidized or whatever, but you go there and it's got every piece of a gigantic piece. It looks like an arm wrestling table / desk where the only purpose is that you're turning that pronator handle.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's nuts. So back to TAL. You're having your match with Underwood. Now, are you going to jump in the tournament as well?
Yes.
Is it still the plan for right arm supers, left arm 220s?
Yes.
How do you feel about the opportunity? Because you might end up, that could be a killer tournament, man. That could be Michael Todd, Dave Chafee. It could be wild.
Well, that's why I was going out. That's why when Jeff offered me the invite out there, I wanted to go, because you can't, to compete with guys at that level, I mean, unless you're a prodigy, I got to pull people like that several times to figure out how to best attack them. And I haven't pulled Michael Todd right-handed ever. I pulled Dave Chafee a few times, and then Corey West and those people I've never pulled. So I just need access to that sort of stuff. But they'll all will have had super matches as well, So we'll all be, to be honest, you'll have all these North America's top arm wrestlers in this tournament, and somebody who slept in a park under newspapers ends up winning because the rest of us are all tired.
That could very well happen. That could happen.
Jeff's cousin, who's just sleeping on his couch, shows up and wins like 4 classes.
That could happen. And the way the draws will work out, you never know. You might have somebody just, like a guy like Andrew Begansky who just drives over from Minnesota and wins the whole thing, And the top 5 are made up of the elite of the PAL and WAL. It's going to be a wild event. And the reason that Jeff is not on here, we should talk about that. Jeff is not here because he's working out all the logistics of the event, including a last-minute venue change.
Oh, nice.
So the reason he's not here is because the venue canceled on him yesterday. And I'm not telling any secrets because by the time this airs, he will have found a new venue. So if you're watching this and you're traveling to Boise, Idaho, make sure that you jump on Facebook and look for the announcement of the new venue.
Yeah, don't go to Big Al's for weigh-in.
Don't go to Big Al's.
I picked a hotel that was close to the venue. Now it's going to be like,
man,
we're now holding it in Oregon or something.
It'll still be in Boise, and Topi's on the case over there trying to find a new venue for him. But yesterday, they called and he phoned me up and said, "Oh my God, they just canceled the venue." And it's funny because the day before, they had expressed how excited they were to hold the event.
Yeah.
So COVID strikes again.
We're going to be in somebody's backyard. They're going to have like an awning with those propane heaters and all be outside in December in Boise.
I told Jeff, I said, you don't need Big Al's. I said, everyone's coming anyway. Go find an airplane hangar and throw some arm wrestling tables in it and you're good to go. Airplane hangar, gymnasium, whatever you got to do.
Exactly.
But the event it's a pretty simple thing to work out. There just might not be a whole lot of refreshments available for everyone.
Oh, I got a feeling those folks in Idaho know about coolers and whiskey bottles.
Oh, yeah, I hope so. I would hope they would. So what else is happening with you beyond TAL? Like, are you going to is this kind of the only show in town at the moment?
Yeah, I pulled a local tournament here a few months ago, and I'm just kind of waiting for WL to start up again,
Do you think that that's a possibility in the next couple of months here, or are they just going to wait?
So. I think this, I just, on the way in here, I heard England approved the vaccine for their folks, and they'll probably approve 2 or 3 of those vaccines in the next month for United States. So I got a feeling this whole pandemic thing gets under control in the next couple of months.
Well, I mean, Operation Warp Speed, right?
Yeah.
So are you? I mean, are you one of the guys that will take it as soon as it's available?
Probably. I go into Rite Aid or something, and I get the flu vaccine every year, and they go, well, you can have. I go, look, give me every vaccine you got. I want if you got one for menopause, I want it. You got one for osteoporosis. Give me every chemical you got.
Yeah,
I'm an engineer, man. I believe in better living through modern science.
As do I. And I'm at the point, and I know a lot of people that were saying, like, I'll never take the vaccine, have just broke down now and said, just give it to me. I want this to be over with.
Fuck it. I'll take all 3 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, why not? I would do it to move forward and get the hell up past all of this so we can get arm wrestling again.
Exactly. I don't buy anything in the grocery store that says all natural or organic on it. I go, I want the shit that was raised by scientists on some strict quality controlled farm.
That is an interesting debate. You wouldn't buy the organic over the engineered version, even though it might be nutritionally deficient.
It might be, but then again, like when they say, "Oh, gluten free," I go, "I want the bread that's gluten fortified. That gluten's probably doing something." I want big glutes. I want more gluten.
You're super heavyweight now. You need big glutes.
That's exactly.
So, as you do a seminar, I've seen you doing some training seminars. Most of them a lot of them are popping up on YouTube. How have those evolved? So if someone took your seminar 2 years ago and they took it tomorrow, would they see a massive difference in the content?
They would not. And that's something, and I touch upon that on my seminar because I'm not the only one that does these. There are other very famous arm wrestlers out doing seminars. And if you compare the training videos they did 5 years or so ago to what they're doing today, you get the feeling that they're just telling you what they're doing that day, but kind of making shit up. Anything I've done since 2004 or 5 is pretty consistent. It's all West Side barbell based. Mostly what I've changed is my belief on volume. I do a segment on how you train beginners and girls. That's evolved as I spent more time with beginners, and then we've gotten different handles since then. Because when I started doing this, there wasn't a wrist wrench, there wasn't a multi-spinner, and there wasn't stuff like that. I emphasize isometrics a lot more for people who cut weights, but the basic West Side barbell, speed day, max day, volume day, do some isometrics. I don't follow any of the isolated wrist curl stuff that a lot of the old timers do, but the basic, probably the underlying strategy is there. You'll find that very, very consistent. But a lot of the tech, like the JM presses, I just found out about them about 2 years ago. I did them for a year before I started telling other people about them. So, that's new.
Now, is that primarily for elbow health, that movement?
It's definitely for elbow health. It's the one thing I used to do a lot of plyometrics on my elbows to try to get those tendons stronger. Yeah. And that JM press I found was able to strengthen those elbows quicker and in a controlled fashion because you can put a lot of tension on it. And I started doing them, for more as rehab, but I do a lot of off-axis elbow. I train a lot of side pressure anyways, and those JM presses allowed me to start bumping that 1 rep max up on my side pressure table. So on my side pressure levels. So yeah, I'm a big fan, and I wish the beginners got to get a hold of those because we've all been through that 2 to 3 years of beginner elbow pain. This will shorten it. It won't eliminate it. You're gonna hurt your elbows when you first start, but it will definitely shorten it.
Yeah. You were mentioning, I'm impressed that you say that you're fundamentally the same as you were 2 years ago, because I know that if I took like the Travis Bajan seminar, it would be a completely different program.
He's one of the ones I mentioned.
Yeah.
And I watched Travis's seminar, and I've pulled a lot of stuff out of his seminar that I
Me
never
too.
considered. His closed hand fist tech. I go, oh, I use a little bit of that. I don't preach a lot of it, but I use it in my own sometime. Travis is what Devin's another one whose seminars are like different. It's not like Old Testament, New Testament. It's like Old Testament and the Book of Scientology. I mean, they're completely different. There's like nothing related between it. So,
yeah, and I'm guilty of that as well, because the old school method of training is do something until it stops working and then change it.
Right.
Whereas the adaptability of the West Side program maybe will prevent all of that from happening.
Yeah. And there's a lot of progressive overload people out there too. But we're all on our own journey, and all we can do is report back on what we found and what we do. And I make that eminently clear. I say, this is how I train. This is how I train girls and men exactly the same way. This is your basic strategy. I'll give you my workouts for free. You just take them. Call me if you got questions. But within about 6 months with my strategy, you'll develop your own program, and they won't look like mine.
Yeah.
But we'll have the same strategy. When you text me, and you say, this is my 1 rep max, at that point, I know what a 1 rep max is. I've had people, this is funny. I've had people say, I'm following your routine. So I 1 rep maxed on these 5 things today. And I go, I never said that.
1 rep max day means 1 rep max on everything.
On everything, I saw another training video where we're going to work on a 1 rep max, all things high pressure, and it's like 15 exercises. It's like, geez, guys, I do like 2 or 3 in a day.
Yeah. So your training has evolved way past the arm wrestling instructional video that you bought back in 1990 something.
Yeah, with the back rack, you were on it, you and Levitt, and I can't remember. And I have that tape somewhere, but since then, I started arm wrestling in Michigan, so I've moved to like 7 different states since then. So I have so much stuff in storage. I know I've bought things that I own 2 or 3 times just because I can't find them. Somewhere I have a box of VHS tapes of arm wrestling stuff in it, and that video is in there.
I have that video on YouTube as an unlisted video.
Oh.
And I don't know that I ever want to release it publicly.
Oh, well, I want mine signed. If I find it, I'm going to send it to you. I want you to sign mine.
I'll sign it, and I'll get Paul Levesque to sign it, and I'll get Terry Debates to sign it. He's the other guy in there.
Oh, okay. Because you were young there. 18, maybe 17?
21 probably.
Okay.
Yeah. It was something else. And I didn't expect to be doing a video. And I was just kind of fodder for it. And then Paula used it at the end to sell Herbalife supplements.
Yeah. Well, you did this whole speech on there how you don't eat beef before a tournament because you don't digest it fast enough.
Yes, I remember that.
I remember I watched that whole thing, and me and my wife then there's a lot of just footage of arm wrestling, which was so valuable to me because I had just started out. When I got that tape, I'd only been to 1 tournament. So I didn't realize tournaments could be that big. So I watched all that footage, and there's some guy who wins a match and he does this and his right arm's huge and his left arm's all bony, and my wife about vomited. She thought that was disgusting.
Is that what you're going to look like someday?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens.
And I end up looking about the same as I did 20 years later. So.
Yeah, that happens all the time. It was more prevalent back then when you'd have like a Russian competitor show up with 1 massive arm.
Yeah.
And now it's because there's some kind of genetic defect, like the Oleg Zok or
Right.
Hellboy. It is what it is.
When Jeff reached out to me, it was TAL. I can't remember the number, but it was TAL something, and it's in Canada.
So let's talk about that. You got a TAL coming up. What is the real story, man? Like, what the hell is up with Lachlan Adair calling you out? Like, there?
It was out of the blue. I don't know. He said, first, it's all about, I am fully convinced it's all about farming hearts and likes and subscriptions. You know, when I was young, I wanted to break in and get notoriety and stuff too. And, you know, but, the backstory is I did a seminar in Australia, got drunk, and embarrassed somebody. At a seminar Lachlan was not at. Okay.
Okay.
And I did not charge for that. The guy putting it on. So if you got ripped off at a seminar, like if you pay money to see Ted Nugent teach guitar theory, and he's all drunk, you don't get bitched at. You don't get mad at Ted Nugent. You get mad at the place that sold you the ticket. You know what I mean?
So he took or used that, and this was
like
sometime
later.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I was in Australia so long ago. You know,
he used this so much time later, and so much time has passed. And did he even he went to Zloty in the interim, didn't he?
He went to Zloty, and the three of them did.
So this was not like this just happened, I'm pissed off. This happened. I found out about it later. I've pulled many events and been on many videos, and all of a sudden we're talking about it again.
Yeah. So.
All right. So he's calling you out. He wants all this stuff. He, and even
I said, I told him, but you have to pay me. Then they got somebody else I don't know. I said, yeah, I'll pull you, but you have, had you just asked, like Don Underwood did, okay, yeah, we can work something out. But if you're going to MF me and this is that, okay, you are now paying me to show up. This isn't a super match that I'm interested in. You are going to pay tuition just for me to show up at this point, And
are you gonna? Here's the thing that puzzles me. Anyone that knows arm wrestling should realize that the big muscles he has don't mean he's going to do well in a super match with you. Now, he claims that he had something for you at some point, at some time, on a practice table. Did that happen?
I went there and practiced about, I think it was a month after I pulled Jerry Catarat.
And you guys pulled, and it was
we pulled it. And they filmed it. You know how
Yeah.
They filmed it. It wasn't ready go stuff. It was ease into it. I mean, what he took away from that was, I can beat Hutchins. What I took away from that was, I can beat this guy easy.
Anytime you want.
Yeah, which is what you come away with in practice,
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my seminars, I tell people, do not keep score in practice. Do not set your goals of beating one of your teammates. You need your teammates to help you, But to pull somebody in practice, and think you're going to beat them, that's farcical, man. I practiced with John Brzezinski for about 4 years. And I know I'm name dropping here, but this is something that anybody who's ever practiced with John Brzezinski will nod their head at.
Yeah.
When you pull with John, you think you can beat him. Everybody at practice thinks John is mortal, right? Practice John, he gets tired. You can knock him off center. You can do what you're. Tournament John is completely different. Practice John is just sitting there gobbling up all that data. And John's working on John at practice. He doesn't even care who you are. In a tournament, that brain of his goes through it. Oh, okay, I pulled Todd this many times. Oh, this is where his weak spot is. Boom, and you never see it coming.
Yeah.
So
no, I would agree with that. And John was probably the best guy to warm up with when I was in Moldova.
Yeah.
Because he was like, "Oh, you feel so good. You feel real good." I'm like, "Perfect. I'm ready to go." And
when I cover table time versus gym time in my seminar, I hold out. If you practice like John does, you can probably get away with a table time only for development, and then maybe some weights for rehab or stuff. Too many people go to a practice and it's like a warm-up tournament. It's like a mini competition. Jon had no ego in practice, which is what made him so good. So if people could practice like Jon did, then I'd be a bigger advocate for table time for developing arm wrestlers. But Jon was just rare.
And then everyone pulls out their cell phone and has to video the whole thing.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Most of the matches that Jon losing are at practice after he's pulled everybody there.
Yeah. What about, so you got Ryan involved. So is he do you still talk to him on a regular basis? You're coaching him, or is that still happening?
Nope.
So he kind of just cut ties and went down this path with Lachlan, or what?
Him and Lachlan now charge people for training.
So is Lachlan just taking what he's learning from Giannis and kind of regurgitating it?
I haven't paid the money to see what they're training. But...
Well, I mean, that's interesting, but okay, fair enough. So how did that?
Hey, I'm a capitalist, man. I say I'm a big fan of capitalism. But
make it while you can. Yeah. Make it while you can. But I mean, you trained Ryan for some time. Why did that stop? Did he just decide it was time to go out and leave the nest kind of thing, or what happened there?
You'll see it. There's arm wrestlers kind of fall into the two groups. The guys who want to get really, really strong and arm wrestling's basic. And then there's the folks who want to be super technical about it, where, they talk about micro positioning and the straps matter and the buckle matters and whether you have your elbow forwards or back. And, so Ryan's more of the technical, philosophical side of arm wrestling. He really never... Like Lachlan wants to train hard, get strong, just be brutal strong. He'll train everything. Oh, I think Ryan's only training the one arm. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's doing the following the Devin method.
Right. So yeah, me and Devin would be at opposite ends of the training spectrum. If you asked me and Devin for advice or input on how to train, me and Devin would be at opposite ends. But then Jon would be at an opposite end. So evidently there's three opposite ends. Actually, so there's probably 5 or 6 opposite ends of arm wrestling. So it's probably like a dodecahedron or something. But it's amazing how many folks that just shows you, for a sport that's as old as it is, nobody's ever applied any science to it, that you can have this many competing successful theories, on how to get good. Where if you look at any other sport like powerlifting or Olympic weightlifting, there's 2 or 3, but they're similar. In arm wrestling, you got these hugely divergent strategies on how to get, and somebody's used every one of them to get good,
Well, that's an interesting thing, because I've also had this conversation recently with people that have said, like, what are the best 3 exercises I can do? I did a show with Engen about training a little bit, and I called the guy lazy because he was, to me, it seemed like he was looking for 3 that he could do, and that would be the answer. And I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah. Well,
to be a well-rounded arm wrestler, 3 exercises, unless they are like super compound movements.
Well, there might be 3 for him this month.
Yeah.
But 3 months from now, when he's mastered those 3 ain't going to work anymore.
Yeah, and the fact that you have all these training methods. I said arm wrestling is the one sport where you're going to ask 15 guys how they train, and you're going to get 15 different answers.
That's
because
exactly
it's
right.
almost like we take bodybuilding and we pull it in. We take powerlifting and we pull it in. We take Olympic weightlifting and we pull it in. And then we mix in all these crazy wrist and grip type exercises.
Like strongman. Now we're bringing strongman in where we're doing all kinds of weird shit.
Yeah, yeah. But we cut out the lower body portion of it sometimes. And, it's just a mishmash of everything. And training with Engen, I can tell you the volume is insane.
But
I remember Engen and Jon used to do a Facebook thing together.
Yeah.
And Engen would post what he recommended for training then. And I go, my God, that volume, that's too much volume, you know? But
well, I'm doing it and it's a lot. And we're going to have to start paring some stuff back a little bit because I'm not recovering in a 2-week period.
yeah.
It's getting to be a lot. I think I'm getting great results and I think it'll translate well to the table, but he's also the guy that says, you know, we're going to have to start paring stuff back and monitoring your recovery very closely. But it's different for me. But it is what it is. We all, yeah. I also come from the end of an era where guys didn't train in the gym at all. It was just table time.
Well, that and arm wrestling is also unique that I've seen is there's so many people who like want to like build their own shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who are arm wrestling garage door springs and then they're wrapping straps and tying them to rocks and shit. And it's like, guys, man, weights aren't that expensive. You know?
Well, and they want to invent the next marketable product too.
Right.
So everyone wants to make that $1 million on the next super handle that they can develop. And I don't think that exists.
No, it's a centuries old sport. I'm sure the solution is pretty fundamental and basic like it is for powerlifting, but there'll be strategy differences.
Well, maybe sometime somewhere along the line, someone will invent the arm wrestling device that is akin to the reverse hyper.
Oh,
and then
it's funny you say that, man, because I've been looking for that. I've tried so many different things to try to equate what I could, like what Louis Simmons does, where he says, if you squat 800, you need, I forgot what his formula was, but you need like 100,000 pound reps of reverse hyper. And as your squat goes up, your reverse hyper goes. I've been trying to figure that out for years. I mean, I'll bet you 8-9 years I've been trying to figure out what exercise would correlate to the reverse hyper in arm wrestling, because the reverse hyper is it's working the hams and the glutes and the lower back, but he uses that for squatting. So it's funny you would say that, because there's probably a bunch of us searching for that. You should probably hold a consortium or something where we all get together. Maybe we could solve this. You know?
That's not a bad idea. Yeah. We should put together a small panel and try to get together and figure out what is the thing that is the reverse hyper to arm wrestling.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we'll ever get there.
No, well,
because for you it's going to
eliminate a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Like I might have 3 or 4 ideas, and you could say, well, these 2 don't make no sense, and that, you know. So I mean, we might be able to whittle it down, and then we could all go back and work on it some more.
Well, I mean, the thing with the squat is it's a certain plane of movement, but you know, then we end up with all the different arm wrestling styles that really
we would have a big argument of side pressure versus back pressure.
That's right. That's right.
So maybe there's a different reverse hyper for top rollers, hookers, and pressers.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Well, my man, we have gone on for a while here, and maybe we should put a bow on it.
All righty. It's always a pleasure, man. I thank you for having me on.
You know what? I appreciate you coming on, man. And I hope everything works out with Jeff and you guys have an awesome time this weekend. I will be tuning in as long as you guys aren't on a mountainside somewhere without Wi-Fi. I hope to catch the live stream. And,
as long as I'm not knee deep in snow in some rubble cornfield. You know?
You might be. Yeah. All right, brother. Good luck this weekend and safe travels.
All right. Thank you, Ryan.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.